Welcome to Love and Friendship. I have a very loving friend. Wow. Sarah Brett. I'm your host, Michael Koran. We've been discussing how to get blessings from Abraham, the father of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So if we do the show well, we will all feel blessed. And you want to share, if you're comfortable, some of the things you said you wanted when we were in the green room.
I want to feel the presence of God.
Whoa! So with your help, that would be very great. Maybe we should be quiet. Well, why don't we ask? Yes, why don't you ask?
Okay. God, may we feel your presence.
Whoa. Well,
I feel calmer. I definitely feel calmer.
you said that. You said that in the
I think that
green room too. Okay, well that might be a beginning. May we feel this calmness or this presence while we discuss God's Bible. See? That's hard because words can get in the way. Houston Smith said, the menu is not the meal. So if we're talking about, maybe we can feel it in the words we share, maybe. So I would be interested, if you would like to, as best as you can remember, there's no right or wrong, to bring the audience up to where Abraham and Sarah are on. Where are they on their sacred journey to bring blessings to all families on earth? You want to say what you do remember? I can help if you want. But I'd love to see how it is for you. How did Abraham start?
we ended last time, though, with the circumcision.
Yes.
And that was really a way that everyone said they were on board with having the faith and being part of Abraham's community.
Yes. In our flesh. Okay, so after Abraham, his new name is Abraham now. After he circumcises the people in his community, and I guess himself. Ouch. I mean, they have that in Africa now with women. They're trying to stop it out. A friend of mine is.
She's in Africa right now trying to stop
She
it.
often goes to Africa, to Mali, to try to stop this.
Good for her.
So it must feel very vulnerable, to say the least. Well, with that as the scene, why don't we start? We're up to Genesis chapter 18 now. And again, if we're doing this well, we will feel some of the calmness of the presence of God, and maybe, if we're blessed, we'll feel the blessings, the fruitful blessings from the presence of the cosmos, the creative presence, the force. So why don't you start reading if you would like?
Later, the Lord again appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre. Abraham was sitting at the entrance of his tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up and saw 3 men standing near him. When Abraham saw them, he ran from his tent to meet them. He bowed face down on the ground before them and said, "Sir, if you think well of me, please stay a while with me, your servant. I will bring some water so all of you can wash your feet. You may rest under the tree, and I will get some bread for you so you can regain your strength.
Wow.
Then you may continue your journey." The 3 men said, "That is fine. Do as you said."
Wow. So what do you feel and think?
I think the story's going to get interesting.
And what about
The 3 men?
where it is now? Yes.
Right now, I think the 3 men have something to convey.
Oh my. I like Abraham being such a gracious host,
Definitely, me too.
washing their feet because they're walking in the desert. Good going, Abraham. And he was just circumcised, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That might not have been easy.
Mm-mm. Abraham hurried to the tent where Sarah was and said to her, "Hurry, prepare 20 quarts of fine flour and make it into loaves of bread." Then Abraham ran to his herd and took one of his best calves. He gave it to a servant who hurried to kill it and to prepare it for food.
They're really rushing, right? He hurried, he ran to his herd.
Mm-hmm.
They're hurrying to prepare it.
Mm-hmm. Abraham gave the 3 men the calf that had been cooked and milk curds and milk. While they ate, he stood under the tree near them.
So he didn't eat with them.
Mm-mm.
Just a waiter.
The men asked Abraham, "Where is your wife Sarah?"
Wow, they knew her new name. Because she just got the name Sarah. Your name.
"There in the tent," said Abraham. Then the Lord said,
The Lord.
"Yeah."
Talk about experiencing God. All of a sudden you're nice to strangers, and one of them, either his divine nature comes through, which could be, you're really nice to someone and all of a sudden, wow. Maybe that's one way of understanding it.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think?
I think that,
Because we're told they're men.
right.
We're told 3 men came. They make it really clear.
Mm-hmm.
This writer is full disclosure.
Mm-hmm. Like that. It's interesting that the Lord would hear the Lord when there's 3 men that he's busy taking care of.
Right, you think it's one of the men?
I don't think so, but I think I could very well be wrong.
Read a little more.
Okay.
Tell me if you think that it's one of the men.
Then the Lord said, "I will certainly return to you about this time a year from now. At that time your wife Sarah will have a son."
Wow! First he says, where is Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
Abraham says, in the tent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, I think it's one of the men.
Mm-hmm.
Myself. He says, I mean, it would be a little jarring to have Yahweh just come right into this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very careful scene. He's standing under the tree.
Mm-hmm.
And then he hears, you wouldn't mind, you will have a child.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah's close, is in our way of counting, 45 years old. Hope for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you make of one of these men? It seems like he might be channeling, or experiencing God come through him, or maybe God come down. You know, if God can do everything, he can be a human being too.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
And how did Abraham know to be so trusting and hospitable to them?
Maybe he was that way with any strangers.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the virtues when you live in the desert
Mm-hmm.
to be kind, because you too could be a stranger. But what does it mean that, or why this stranger or God seems to know what Abraham wants? Because Abraham just when we did this last week, in Genesis 17, El Shaddai tells him, and then Elohim, this seem to be different personalities of the same force. So, you know, sometimes you're feeling joyful, sometimes you have a certain personality, sometimes depressed, and you have another. So the divinity in different, then it was as Elohim, which means a community. The community said Sarah's gonna have a son. And now Abraham is told that again, right? What do you feel if you're Abraham? And if you're Sarah listening in the tent, what do you feel?
Elated.
Oh, good. Do you feel that somebody's been poly?
Yes.
I mean, it was Abraham was away making this calf. How did they know her name?
Right.
Is the writer wanting us to see this is like a murder mystery, except it's
exactly.
except it's who's the parent of this child?
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy?
Back then they didn't have those. They have trucks actually. I've seen. Pulled up to the side, people can the truck is actually called Who's Your Daddy?
Oh, and you can do the DNA?
And now the guy can show up and do the
23
do
plus?
test,
Wow.
yeah.
My brother did it.
Mm-hmm.
We were disappointed. He's 100% Jewish.
Oh, okay. No, this is a Who's Your Daddy, not a genetic one. This is, are you the daddy's father? There's trucks that you can, that are stationed. There was one in Downtown Crossing where people just could go, with baseball caps pulled down low, go and submit their sample.
Yep.
So they didn't have to go to Maury Povich.
So how do you feel if you're Sarah then? Have you been polying around with this polyamory with these strangers? And why not? Abraham gave you to Pharaoh, right? Mm-hmm. You gave Abraham Hagar. They've been polying away. They have.
They have, I know.
By mutual, kind of an agreement.
Yeah.
I mean, Sarah, when Abraham said, would you tell Pharaoh you're my sister? She could have said no, she didn't. Mm-hmm. So what do we think?
I think there's going to be a discussion. If Sarah is pregnant and is showing in a month's time.
Oh, you're kind if you're into full disclosure. I'm not sure there. But what would Abraham think if he knows, how do you know my wife's name is Sarah?
I know. He's thinking there's some palling around.
And the writer wants us to know this. Mm-hmm. I like her. This writer I like. Mm-hmm. She's full disclosure city.
I like that.
And what does Abraham say then after one of these strangers, which feels like divinity is, and maybe this is what I think, if you really find someone special to hug and touch, you can feel divine. You can be opened up to the forces of, do you know, you might not like this, in the old time, when women were goddesses, if a man came to the temple with a sheep, you'd invite him into the sanctuary, and you would be very skilled, as if you had attended workshops and have learned how, very skilled at helping the man feel the joy and ecstasy of love. And he'd have a divine experience. And it could be, according to some scholars, that Sarah was the daughter of one of those goddesses.
Mm-hmm.
That Abraham's father had visited the goddess and made Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
As it says in the story a little later, that Abraham says that Sarah and I are half brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
We both have the same father.
Mm-hmm.
So if Sarah, and you might be this way, eventually learn the arts of love, how to really find the presence in the ecstasy of hugging, kissing, and caressing, she might have helped this stranger that's maybe why he feels God speaking through him, have a divine experience and be open to divinity coming through. And Sarah might have said, my new name is Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
I have full disclosure again. I'm with Abraham, but he's given me away.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think anything of this. So what happens next? It's getting exciting.
This is very exciting. Because the Lord said, I will certainly return to you this time a year from now. Your wife Sarah will have a son. Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent.
So this stranger says, I'm coming back.
Mm-hmm, in 1 year.
Going to India or something, wherever he's going. But I'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think of that?
It's interesting. It's very interesting.
At least he's not just here today and got slam bam, thank you, ma'am.
Exactly.
At least he's coming as a responsible stranger. Yeah. Love with the Proper Stranger, I think is the movie. Oh, so I like him for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he might used to just wandering around and going from woman to woman, place to place. But he is coming back.
Mm-hmm. Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent.
Good for you. You're no fool.
No. Right?
What's going on? I want to hear.
Yeah.
And what does she say?
So she was listening at the entrance of the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were very old.
Oh, so we're getting a little choreography here, like it's a play. So the divine stranger is standing
behind.
The tent is right behind him.
Yeah.
So it looks a little fishy.
Exactly.
He's coming out of that tent.
I know.
And the writer wants us to know this. She's full disclosure too, you know. And Abraham is just standing under the tree now, not even watching them eat. And what does Sarah say?
So it says Abraham and Sarah were very old, since Sarah was past the age when women normally have children.
So it sounds like she was close. So there's another reason she's probably around 45.
Yes.
Because that's menopause would just be happening then.
Exactly.
And there are many examples of women who were in the beginning of menopause, have children still.
Exactly. She laughed to herself inwardly, my husband and I are too old to have a baby.
Oh, but she's not saying this out loud.
No, just inwardly.
So, so she's, it doesn't sound like she's just been lovers with a stranger.
Then,
at least from that one. Although maybe she thinks it takes more than, well, who knows? But she's saying this inside.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she doesn't believe that she's pregnant.
No, she thinks it would be from, doesn't mention Abraham by name. Mm-hmm. And then what happens? I'm getting excited myself.
Then the Lord said to Abraham.
Oh, it's this guy. It is this guy, I'm pretty sure.
Why did Sarah laugh?
Oh, he's not even talking to her directly.
Why did she say, I am too old to have a baby?
Oh, so he can hear this saying inwardly might have been another way of saying quietly. Mm-hmm. And he might be offended. I can do it. What is wrong with your wife? And he's not asking her.
Mm-hmm. Is anything too hard for the Lord?
Wow, I can do it.
No. I will return to you at
he
the
doesn't
right
even,
time a
he
year
doesn't-
from now.
It doesn't even wait for Abraham to
Yeah.
answer. He is taking charge, man. Maybe he's a little scared of a conversation. You wanted a conversation. It doesn't seem they're having one. Not yet. They're going to have one soon.
I will return to you at the right time a year from now, and Sarah will have a son.
Wow, I'm going to come and see none of this deadbeat dad. I'm going to
Yeah.
come back.
Sarah was afraid, so she lied.
Oh, now she's speaking out loud. And you understand this one, there's a lot of pressure around.
Yeah.
It's hard to be full disclosure with the truth. And what did she say?
She said, I didn't laugh.
Wow! And they all heard her. Not only, oh
They
my.
heard her thoughts.
Or maybe it was a little like internal, quietly.
But the Lord said, no, you did laugh.
Wow! Are they talking about laughter, or you did also have a good time with me? I love this story. That is very exciting. And
Then the men got up to leave and started out toward Sodom. Abraham walked along with them a short time to send them on their way.
oh, it doesn't sound like he's angry at them yet, although he's not letting them go. And what's going to happen between Abraham and the men?
The Lord said,
And again, the translation is, this is in Hebrew. It is just Yahweh. It's just the name.
the Lord said, should I tell Abraham what I am going to do now?
Oh, so he's kind of talking quietly to himself, but probably out loud again. Oh, so just like Sarah, they're both learning to talk like a play.
Abraham's children will certainly become a great and powerful nation, and all nations on earth will be blessed through him.
Well, Abraham's heard this a number of times, so I don't know why it's such a big deal whether Yahweh at this point, although this time Yahweh is a human being. Wow.
I have chosen him so he would command his children and his descendants to live the way the Lord wants them to live right and be fair.
Wow, this is new. But Abraham never got that commandment. So they're adding. It's like suggesting, hey, if you have my child, I want you to raise the child so he's a good boy. So he's taking care of his kid, this Yahweh.
Then I, the Lord, will give Abraham what I promised him.
Oh, so it's a condition now. Before you'll just be fruitful and multiply. Now you have to raise your kids well. Okay, I could get into that.
I wonder why he changed it.
What do you think?
I think he knows there's going to be some conflict and turmoil.
Oh, so he wants
He
it needs to be raised to be good.
Then the Lord said, I have heard many complaints against the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. They are very evil.
Wow, they're switching.
Their sin is very great.
They're switching it totally.
Yeah.
What's going on? Now there's Lot is living in Sodom,
Yeah.
and Lot was like a son to Abraham. First he was his nephew, and then Abraham called him brother.
The Lord said, I will go down and see if they are as bad as I have heard.
So
If not, I will know.
So what's going on? All of a sudden we're switching to the community. We're not talking about them.
He got word that there was evil.
Now he, of course, had just might have just played around with Sarah, which you don't like. Although if you knew you were going to get a baby from it,
A baby's a good thing.
you might be into this poly thing for a baby. Wow, especially someone who would come back.
A year later.
Yes.
That works. Yeah.
And you're married, so
You're fulfilled.
yes.
You feel that you're enough in that situation.
Maybe. I mean, you have the guys leaving Abraham, and you have not. You've been poly with Abraham. You gave him Hagar. Remember? So, and then you had a big fight with Hagar, and you threw out the pregnant Hagar. Remember? Don't mess with you. So you've had your own anger. You don't give me the impression of feeling enough. Although maybe this experience.
I think we don't know if Sarah feels that she is enough. We don't know.
No. And now they're talking about Sodom. We have 1 minute to...
And the Lord is going to go down and see if they are as bad as I have heard.
Now, did Yahweh behave badly towards Sarah? It was sneaky,
Right.
Polly, but it was in some ways out in the open. I mean, he told Abraham that he knew your new name.
And he knows she's not Sarai, she's Sarah.
Yeah, he knows that.
And
no one told him.
it was Sarah's choice.
To tell him.
Or to have fun with them.
Yes. Or to more seriously make a baby with him. Although she didn't believe it. Well, on that happy note, stay tuned to what's going to be happening in Sodom. We'll be back with you in 3 minutes. Did we feel the presence at all while talking? I think I did. Okay. Welcome to Aha, a human among humans. Why do we have a human here? This is Sarah Brett, who's just seeking an opening to find out whatever she can about the universe and what it can do for her and all of us. And I'm your host, Michael Koran, who's been on that search for 55 years.
What age did you start?
I started at 20, let's see, I went to the University of Chicago in 1962 when I was 21. So I started when I was 22.
That's fantastic. While you were studying at University of Chicago.
Yeah, I needed all the help I could get. One person who was going to be a priest, I would always talk to myself because I was so confused living away from home. I'd say, what should I do? Should I talk to this beautiful woman or not? And I would have an inner voice that look her in the eyes, hold her hand. And I told that to this man who was a religion professor and soon would be a priest. And he said, you're not just talking to yourself, you could be channeling God. That's how I got started. So it was helpful instead of being a lonely boy. I said, oh my, God is talking to me. Oh, that was so helpful. Made me a little arrogant, but you can't have everything. So, we're reading the story of Abraham, and this is the story. Why don't you just sum up what's happening now in this?
Well, in the last half an hour, 3 men came and visited Abraham and Sarah. And we got wind that they knew who Sarah was, they knew her name, they knew Abraham's name, and the Lord said that he would return in 1 year, and in 1 year Sarah would have a son. And Sarah laughed to herself, but they could hear the laughter, and she said that she and Abraham were too old, and that she was too old to have a child. The Lord replied back that there was no need for laughter, that she was, in fact, going to have a son.
Is anything too hard for Yahweh,
yes.
Lord Yahweh?
Yes, right, have the faith.
He was insulted.
Yes.
And now Abraham isn't shunning these people. He's walking them as they're walking towards Sodom.
Which is where Lot lives.
Yep.
And the Lord also said to Abraham to make sure to raise his children with good manners and good morals.
And good morals, do what's right and just.
And
then he would be, so that's a new... And
new condition.
Yeah, why the new condition? There's a new situation.
And then he said that he heard many complaints about the people in Sodom. So he is going to go down right now to visit Sodom to see if those complaints are in fact true.
And maybe he's been, the Yahweh is a bit poly here, maybe. And Sodom is poly city.
Right. So maybe those complaints are people just being really upset about the state of affairs, too much hooking up.
Yes, or maybe Lord Yahweh is... I don't know. Is he projecting? Is he thinking what I just did with Sarah? Maybe not so good. Maybe, or maybe wonderful. Or maybe both. And maybe getting angry now with the people who are doing, who are poly city. So what goes on next?
So he said, he said he was going to go down to Sodom. So the men turned and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood there before the Lord. Then Abraham approached him and said, "Do you plan to destroy the good people along with the evil ones?"
Good for Abraham.
What if there are 50 good people in that city? Will you still destroy it?
Wow, good for you. Taking on, what do you think?
I know. That's a difficult conversation.
Yes. What do you think?
I know it's the first time I feel like we've seen an example of him speaking up.
Yes.
And being confrontational.
Well, he spoke up a bit when he heard Yahweh say, "I'm going to be your shield and protect you," after he rescued Lot. But this is more confrontational even. This is, I mean, it's wonderful. You can argue with whatever you're experiencing. It's very Jewish. And ask divinity to treat people justly. Do not destroy the innocent with the wicked. And what does Yahweh say?
Surely you will not destroy the good people along with the evil ones. Then they would be treated the same. You are the judge of all. You are the judge of all the earth. Won't you do what is right? Okay, so no, that now the Lord said, if I find 50 good people in the city of Sodom, I will save the whole city because of
Wow,
them.
so first Yahweh slipped in that you're gonna treat your child to be good and just, and Abraham's giving it right back to him. Good for Abraham.
Don't destroy the 50
And this is
good
important
people.
for us because we might hear all kinds of powerful voices, and we can have conversations with them.
Yeah.
And ask them to treat us more kindly. Surely, if you're one of the forces or powers of the universe, you can treat me and other people more kindly. And the voice, Yahweh, Lord, says, yeah. Does Abraham ask for 50, or did Yahweh add the 50?
The Lord said, if I find 50 good people.
Oh, yeah, because Abraham brought it up.
He brought up, what if there's 50
Yes.
good people?
And good for Yahweh. They're getting along, even though there might have been some poly activity going on.
Then Abraham said, though I am only dust and ashes, I have been brave to speak to the Lord.
Wow, he's calling him. Good for him. I'm just dust and ashes. But also, you might notice I'm very brave. I'm very, yes, just like us. I'm brave. I'm taking this hard journey. I don't know where I'm going. I'm going to speak up anyway. Whoa. What does he say?
And he says, I have been brave to speak to the Lord. What if there are only 45 good people in the city? will you destroy the whole city for the lack of 5 good people?
I'll play the Lord Yahweh. If I find 45 there, I will not destroy the city. Good for Yahweh though. They're getting in, they're having a very good connection.
Yeah.
They're vibrating with one another.
Again, Abraham said to him, if you find only 40 good people there, will you destroy the
They're
city?
on a roll. And your Lord Yahweh says, if I find 40, just a very brief line, I will not destroy it. Wow, Abraham's taken over.
Then Abraham said, Lord, please don't be angry with me.
So he's being careful though. Don't get too open.
But let me ask you this. If you find only 30 good people in the city, will you destroy it?
If I find 30 good people there, I will not destroy the city. Wow. And good, Abraham's keeping going.
Yes.
Good, Sarah.
Abraham said, I have been brave to speak to the Lord, but what if there are 20 good people in the city?
If I find 20 there, I will not destroy the city. Yahweh has the same lines, which is Abraham's doing all the interesting.
Then Abraham said, Lord, please don't be angry with me.
You're being careful.
But
Gotta be careful.
But let me bother you this one last
Wow.
time. What if you find 10 there?
So you don't give up. You do not give up with mothers, fathers. You go for what you want. And he's talking to this perhaps Pali Yahweh. If I find 10 there, I will not destroy it.
When the Lord finished speaking to Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home.
Wow. What do you think? Feel?
Well, I feel like it's Lot's gonna be safe. Lot will be okay.
Why?
Because Lot is there.
Well, it might only be destroyed.
Well, I think he will not destroy the city. I just don't know what he's going to do with the bad people. If there's only 10 good people.
Well, what if there aren't 10? Well, what if he forgets to look? You know, this is a conversation with these, as you know, words are cheap.
They are cheap.
Yeah. But it's interesting to hear your response. I love Abraham. Taking it, and this human, divine being may have been just with his wife, but they're giving each other, right? You got to be good. You be good. God be good. None of this flooding the earth. None of this destroying the Tower of Babel and giving us different languages. You be good. You can speak that to your friends when you get angry.
You can say to them, you be good.
You be good, or ask what you want. I want you to, this is what I want.
I want full disclosure.
I want full disclosure. Otherwise I'll bite your tongue off or other things. I want full disclosure. And if not, goodbye. And I want you to be just. Right? I don't want you to hurt innocent, good people like me.
I think that's something that can be, that needs to be replicated to many, many people out there.
Yes, and even if Yahweh behaved a bit poorly, but Sarah wanted a kid, Abraham wasn't making one with her. Might have been for a good cause. And he wasn't just here today and gone tomorrow, he's coming back. So people are both doing what works for them, including Sarah, having trouble, laughing, and this visitor says, are you laughing at me? We have this great writer who is setting the scene, Abraham by the tree, this visitor with his back to the entrance to the door. This is like a play. Sarah laughing, she thinks to herself, but the visitor can hear her. And now they're struggling with good and evil again. But the anger, if Abraham feels any, or the visitor feels any, being laughed at, is directed towards Sodom, not towards Sarah or Abraham, although maybe toward Lot, as you were saying. Abraham doesn't want that. Loves his nephew, even though his nephew left him. Well, we have finished chapter 18. I think, although we have 14 more minutes, my desire now is to keep it structured. We've done all of Genesis 18. We can do 19 next week. Each chapter is an exciting. What happens to these poly people? Will they have a child? What's going to happen between Ishmael, who's already born from poly activity, right? Agar and what's going to happen with the new child? Are they going to get along? They didn't get along in the past, right? Remember, Sarah beat Hagar? When she entered the poly world, it's challenging. But they had no choice. These people didn't have
online dating.
Well, even then, they loved each other in their way. I'm not sure Abraham and Sarah loved each other. They stayed with each other. They were half brother and sister, as well as legally married. It was tough. Abraham gave her away, Pharaoh. She was such an amazing woman. Everybody in Pharaoh's household got sick when Pharaoh started to have a little poly with her. He didn't know it. Oh, but he had his own poly scene, right? But that was full disclosure. Sarah didn't. She was married. So she's a powerful being. She's discovered in her anger. Her husband gave her away. She discovered, oh my, I don't have to be afraid of that anger. Pow! Pharaoh, you want to mess with me? Plague breaks out. She's nobody's good little girl anymore. And they're still doing it. She wants a kid. She's not into her husband, as many poly people are, right? They're tired of him. And gives him another woman. Hagar. I had a dear friend, one of her good friends calls up and say, my husband and I we love each other, we have children, but we're not into each other anymore. Would you be my husband's lover? But that's full disclosure.
That's nice.
And she didn't take it up. And eventually I sent her a man that became her husband, a friend.
So she did eventually leave her husband?
No, no.
Okay.
I confused you.
I know what you're saying.
My friend did not take that husband offer and then met someone who became her husband.
Okay.
I sent to talk with her. So you can trust if I send people over. You never know. So that's, I think that's their...
And you don't believe that Abraham and Sarah ever truly loved each other?
They might have loved, but I don't think they certainly didn't want to be lovers. They were, it's hard to be half brother or sister, right? Really, you have.
Oh, yeah.
So they were married. I have many friends who have celibate marriages and are very happy with it. They love each other and sex doesn't get in the way. Or they had sex for a year and then there was a hysterectomy and they stopped. Many years later, they're still together. So there's many ways. One of the ways in this story is certainly polyamory, creative, full disclosure with Sarai at least. Here, Hagar, you can take my husband. But even with full disclosure, that turned out, as happens, Hagar gave Sarah the stare. You don't mess with your namesake. Whack! And Abram said, you can do whatever you want with her. She's in your hands. And pregnant Hagar goes into the wilderness. And the messenger comes, maybe from Abraham. Go back to Sarah. Submit to her. And then they got on for a while. At least for a while. So they were very creative, resilient through the great horrors and difficulties of that polyamorous. And Abraham started it, giving Sarah away. And they didn't. That one they didn't run from. That one they continued to play as carefully as they could. I don't think Sarah gave Abraham full disclosure about what she did with this stranger when Abraham was making the meal. This is a hard, trivial question. Do you by any chance remember what Abraham told Sarah to do when he went to get the calf and the yogurt for the meal? He gave her a command to make something.
Bread.
Yes! Brilliant! And if you noticed, what did they eat? What did the men eat in chapter 18?
Did they had the calf, right?
It says...
Oh, milk, curds, and milk.
Yep, that was just like yogurt. So what did they eat?
It says Abraham gave the 3 men the calf that had been cooked and milk, curds, and milk.
What's missing in this meal?
The bread.
It's hard to make bread if you're
interesting.
if you're being polyamorous at the time. You can't do both.
Wow.
So it seems this writer is letting us know if you want to, and if you're polyamorous or even amorous, you've got to really pay attention to details. People will tell you what's going on even if it's not with words. So there's no, and so this writer really wants us to know that this stranger, this divine stranger, or the stranger that has his divinity revealed to him after hugging Sarah, she didn't make the bread, but they might have put a bun in her oven.
They did, yeah. There's a bread being made.
There's a bun.
For 10 months.
A bun, or 9 or 10 months, a bun in her oven. So I love this writer. If we pay attention, we can find out what's going on. And if we don't, we can have a nice story that Abraham and Sarah had a son. Although we'll see that story might not work. So we have another 5.5 minutes. We've discussed poly. We've discussed a way to find divinity through hugging. There's many ways of doing that. You can hug from afar. I do this with my housemate. So do you feel anything? I feel, yes, well, tell us what you feel.
I felt very warm energy.
Yeah, so that's possible. I feel the warm presence. It's very peaceful. So there's many ways. Some people do yoga, some people meditate. Some people find it with sarsaparilla, with hugging. Sometimes you can, oh my. Dancing, singing, as the Sufis do. Next time it's the first Friday in October, 7:30 Quaker House, and the Sufis were called whirling dervishes. They would spin around and around and around, get into what we call an altered state, and they'd feel the presence. Some people go to churches and sing, you know, really sing. You know, like gospel singing. You sing your heart out and you can feel. I wake up every morning to, He's got the whole world in His hand. And I could be, I don't quite, but that those who could really sing it can feel that. So there's many, many ways. Early people in Africa would dance and sing for hours. And they would feel the ghost come upon them, actually. And they'd start saying words, and then their neighbors would say what they said they didn't even know. So there's many ways of getting into this out of an ordinary experience and beginning to feel it. Some of the ways can do you in.
What are some of the ways that can do you in?
Well, you could, I think I told you this in the green room. There's a beautiful truth in the world. It's like a mirror. And when you look into this mirror, you can see how beautiful you and what's around you is. Like Van Gogh, the painter, could see sun coming through the sunflower. And the story is someone shattered, they want this mirror too much and they shatter it. And it's broken into 1,000 pieces. And when one person finds one piece, they think, it's so beautiful. Well, I have the truth. And they forget there's 999 other parts that are also true. So that's a great danger, that you feel the beauty of one truth and you think you have all the truth. Right? You know people like that.
Very much.
Yes, I have the truth. And the truth is infinite. It's so. There's one writer, Joseph Campbell, who wrote a book, and there was a television show, Bill Moyers, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. There's so many faces. Dance, singing, the sky, painting, loving, friendship, service, studying.
Sitting, contemplation.
Sitting. And I have a friend, my friend Neil Cates, goes to 8-day retreats. And they just sit.
Vipassana?
I think I might be, I don't know. There's a place, Insight Meditation Center, over here. People sit. And eventually you can discover that what you think is you, your ego, is just part of something way more than we know. That's another way. We have to say goodbye.
Right.
Yep.
To exploring all the truths that are out there.
Wow, exploring all the truths, the beautiful, peaceful, calming, serene, energizing, loving, compassionate, beautiful truths to all of us.